Okay, we'll record the session. All right. Okay, let's start our session. My apology for a little bit late because I was in the middle of a call. So thank you very much for coming to this session. Uh, Yesterday, we already have our first session where we look at the planning your examination by Mr. Amjadullah Bey and exam integrity. Today we are going to look at problem reporting by Mr. Muhammad Qasim and best practices by Mr. Abubakar Adam. Okay, so just a quick recap, right? This workshop is brought to you by the e-learning directorate, where our responsibility is to manage the Blackboard and e-learning matters in Royal Commission College and Institute. All right, so these are the theme of the directorate for those who just here for the first time. There are 9 members headed by Dr. Ali, and the head of department is Dr. Yusuf Al-Mu'allim. Right, then we have Mr. Kaiser as the secretary. I'm the Blackboard administrator. While each campus has their representative, YIC by Dr. Karimullah, YUC male, Mr. Abubakar Adam, YUC female, Mr. Robert, YTI, Mr. Amjadullah Bay, and DLE by Mr. Muhammad Qasim. Okay, so this workshop is targeted to the lecturers. Okay, our aim is to provide you with the information that you need, okay, to make sure that you can conduct the exam, especially the online examination, in the best manner. All right, it is not a workshop which aim to teach you how to use Blackboard, how to use certain questions, but rather to tell you that the best practices and what are the things that you need to do to make sure that the exam can be conducted successfully. And if you need to know the details on how to use certain tools or certain features in Blackboard, you're welcome to contact any of the campus representative, or you can check out the videos in our e-learning websites. Okay, so we have 4 objectives here: preparation, integrity, which we have covered yesterday, and today we will look at what to do if there is a problem that you face during and after the examination, and finally we will look at the best practices. Okay, this was the session yesterday, and inshallah today we will have the sessions about problem reporting by Mr. Muhammad Qasim and best practices by Mr. Abubakar Adam. So without further ado, I will just 1 minute before I pass my presentation to Mr. Muhammad Qasim. Just a reminder, inshallah, check the chat box. Inshallah, Mr. Kaiser will send the link for filling up your attendance. Please fill up your attendance using your full names in English and Arabic. And if you do not know how to put the Arabic, you can put both in English. All right, because these names will be used in preparing the certificates of attendance, which will be given to you later. All right, and also towards the end of the presentation, we will send you link for survey, and please respond to the survey. It will help us to evaluate our presentation, our workshops, and make it better, inshallah, in the future. So without further ado, I will pass this presentation to Mr. Muhammad Qasim. Mr. Qasim, can you do a sound check? We haven't heard anything from you.
Yeah. It's okay. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, go ahead now. Yes, go ahead, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته and good morning to all. I thank Dr. Ali Albar, Director E-Learning, and Dr. Yusuf Al-Muallam, Head of E-Learning, and Blackboard Support Committee members and the participants for giving me the opportunity to present this part of the training. So this is regarding the Blackboard online exams, problem reporting, how the students report the problem, what way they can report the problem, and how the instructor is supposed to deal with that, and how the department is going to deal with the reportings. So those things we are going to discuss one by one today, inshallah. So here the concerns are what to do if there is a problem during the examination, evidences required to support the claim of technical problem, when and where to submit technical problem incidents. These are generally the concerns which we are going to tackle in this part of the presentation. The contents for today's presentation are student side, issues prior to the exam, again student side, issues during the exam, instructor side, resolving student issues during the exam, and HOD side, head of the department side, what to do when he receives the approved list from the student affairs for makeup exam. This is the student side. Student side means the student perspective. And this is regarding the issues prior to the exam. If suppose the student has some issues, some problems, and keep complaining to the instructor about the prior to exam issues, then how to deal with that. The sample issues could be, the sample issues could be no laptop or desktop, no internet, no power, device crash, etc. We keep listening, as an instructor, we keep listening these kind of issues frequently from our students. So here the warning is the students are instructed to arrange everything needed for the exam in advance. This instruction could be from the instructor, it could be from the department, it could be from the institute, or it could be from the e-learning directory. The student should be informed in advance that how they have to be, what things they have to keep ready for the online exam. These instructions generally we keep sending to the students in advance prior to the exam. So because the students have already instructed, so these kind of issues, the solution for them is going to be mostly these kind of problems will not be entertained. If at all the students keep insisting to the instructor, then what the instructor can advise to the student that, however, that is not going to be, most of the time the request will be rejected. However, they can tell the students that, send a request to the student affairs, directly to the student affairs, and the student affairs email address, if they don't know, need to be provided to them by the instructor or through the announcements. That means in this case, the student will be sending for the issues prior to the exam of this kind. The student is sending a request to the student affairs directly. So it will not come to the instructor, it will go directly to the student affairs for the issues prior to the exam. And what need to be included in the request? What need to be included in the request here? What to include in the request? in the request, the student makes sure to include the problem description. What are the problems they are facing? They have to write the problem description, exam date, problem time, course ID, section number, exam title, the student name, and the student college ID. The student supposed to report, if at all they want to report, regarding their the issue prior to the exam, to the student affairs directly with this information. Okay, now this is regarding to the issues prior to the exam. And now what about if the student faced the issues during the exam? Let's go to the next slide. This is the next slide. This is the student side issues during the exam. What are the sample issues during the exam? Could not open the exam, open but could not complete the exam, kicked out and could not re-enter the exam, etc. If the student complained these kind of issues during the exam, then if a student come across a problem during the Blackboard online exam, he is encouraged to take the following actions. Immediately take the screenshot of the entire screen with error message, with the time and date visible if possible, with the time and date visible. So he's going to take the screenshot of the entire screen of the error message. If the screenshot is not possible, then take the photo of the error screen using the smartphone. Okay, now home to report. Then the student immediately send a request. Then the student immediately send a request to his section instructor via email and inform him of his situation. And what to include in the request? The student makes sure to include the problem description, exam date, exam start time, exam end time, problem time, and was the student able to complete the exam, yes or no, course ID, exam title, his name, his college ID, and the error screenshot. This needs to be included in the request. Okay, now once this is going to be sent, this request is going to be sent to his section instructor. Here you see the section instructor. Then what the section instruction is going to do as soon as he receives the request during the exam. Let us see that in the next slide. This is the instructor side, the instructor perspective, the resolving student issues during the exam. Now, what is the solution? The related section instructor tried to resolve the issue by using the test availability exceptions and any other secure and authentic way immediately during the exam itself, immediately if possible. If it is not possible, if he could not resolve the issue, the knowledge which he has based on the trainings given by us, otherwise seek the help of the campus e-learning representative immediately. The representatives will be available during the exam, all the exams, and then he can directly contact the e-learning representative to get the help if he could not resolve the issue on his own by using the test availability options or test availability exceptions or any other secure and authentic way. And whom he is going to report, how this is, if suppose he could not if he could resolve the issue, then directly he will inform to the student and the student will carry on with the exam. If he could not resolve the issue, then he will consult with the e-learning representative. If both of them could resolve it, then again the instructor will inform the student and the student will continue the exam. If suppose both of them could not resolve the issue, if both the instructor as well as the e-learning representative could not resolve the issue, then the related section instructor reports it to his HOD. Then HOD will report it to the student affairs. So now what to include in the request? Actually reporting the instructor reporting it to the HOD, it's okay. Then the HOD will report it to the student affairs. If the HOD reports it to the student affairs, then what he is going to include? What is the information needed? The report to the student affairs from the HOD include the information sent by the student to the related section instructor, plus the findings. These are the findings by the instructor and the e-learning representative, and then the instructor will be writing these findings, and then plus recommendation. This is a recommendation. This recommendation can be given by the HOD, head of the department, for if the student is eligible to take the makeup exam. So then now after this, the HOD will be sending it to the student affairs. If the cases are approved by the student affairs, then what is going to happen? If the cases are the one case, or the odd case, or what do we call isolated case, or many cases are approved by the student affairs, then the student affairs communicate to the HOD back for conducting the makeup exam later. And how the it's like that, they know the communication channel, they have to communicate it back to the HOD regarding the makeup exam. So if the request is not approved, by the student affairs, then the student affairs inform the student that his request is rejected. So it will go from the student affairs to the student for that particular student. So this is about the instructor side. Now let's see about what the HOD is supposed to do after he receives a request from the student affairs for conducting the makeup exam. This is the next slide. Now this is the HOD side. What to do when he receives the approved list from the student affairs for makeup exam? The student affairs sends the approved list of his students to the HOD to conduct the makeup exam. The student affairs will be sending, because they are going to approve or disapprove the way that the student can write the makeup exam or not. So after they approve it, they will send the list, the students, to the HOD to conduct the makeup exam. Then the head of the department sends a request to the institute e-learning representative to arrange for the online makeup exam with the following information. What is that information? Department name, course code, exam title, exam date, related course coordinator or instructor name, course coordinator or instructor Safir ID, course coordinator or instructor email, course coordinator or instructor contact number. This information I will be including. I included here the sample sheet as well. I'm going to share this presentation to all of you. It may help. You can have a look on this sample sheet. This way, this sheet can be used by the HOD to send the makeup exam information which he receives from the student affairs to the e-learning representative, e-learning institute representative. So here, one very important point here is, we need to know this. Announcements providing the information to the students related to the makeup exam and the related communication in this regard with the students and faculty is the sole responsibility of the academic department and student affairs. Regarding the communication and announcements regarding the makeup exam is the sole responsibility of the academic department and the student affairs. E-learning directorate is responsible in only arranging the Blackboard platform for online makeup exam in the Blackboard. So now here I have a flow chart. So whatever I have presented, in the previous slides, that I put in a nutshell over here as a summary. So it's like this. If the student, side issues prior to the exam, if the student come across the issues prior to the exam, then these are the issues prior to the exam: no laptop or desktop, no internet. Then what he does, he directly sends a request to the student affairs. Then student affairs, decides whether the request. Most of the time, those requests will be rejected. Decides whether that request will be accepted or not. If it is approved, then the student affairs itself informs to the students. If suppose the student affairs rejects it, then it informs to the students back that his request is rejected. If suppose the student affairs approve that, the request, then it will go back to the HOD. It will go back to the HOD. Just 1 minute, because mine is Surface Pro. It is very, delicate and sophisticated. So now, just with a single movement of the finger, it is the slide is advancing. So now here, if suppose the student affairs approves it, then that information will go to the HOD. That is, these students will go for the makeup exam. Then the HOD will send in a format, in a particular format which I just explained in the previous slide. In that format, he will send the information to the Institute e-learning representative, and from this Institute e-learning representative, it goes to the administrator, the e-learning directorate, and who are going to organize the makeup exam on the blackboard. Now, if suppose the student come across the issues during the exam, then the student will directly send the request to the related section instructor, and related section instructor will try to resolve it. If suppose he could resolve it, if it is S, then it again goes back to the student, and then he will ask the student to continue the exam by using the test availability exceptions, like that. If suppose the instructor could not resolve it, then he will take the help of the institute e-learning representative. And if both of them could not solve it, then it will go to the information will go to the HOD, and the HOD will send it to the student affairs, the student affairs. Then the student affairs approves it, and it will go. HOD will send it to the student affairs. Then the student affairs whether approves it or not. Once the student affairs approves it, again comes back to the HOD like this. Okay, this is then after it comes back to the HOD, again it will go to the institute e-learning representative, and then it will go to the director, the e-learning directorate, the administrator of the e-learning. And this is all the summary of the previous slides. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Qasim. We have around 5 minutes for question and answers. Before you have any questions you would like to ask Mr. Qasim, you're welcome. And please keep your questions short, and also only ask questions. Don't make another presentation, please. Okay, because we do not have much time. Yeah. So anyone has any questions that you would like to ask Mr. Qasim?
Maybe no questions. Let's go ahead, Brother Rafi.
Okay, if no question, then we will proceed with the next session. Okay, which
Assalamu
is
alaikum.
yes.
How are you, Mr. Rafi?
Yeah, if you have any question, you're welcome to.
I have one that I want to address to all of you, asking about something for my clarification based on all that has been said since yesterday. First of all, thank you very much for such enlightening presentations. We really got a lot, and it will help us, inshallah, in the examination. I have only one thing from your expert opinion. I want to know what is the usefulness of lockdown browser without respondents monitor? An expert technical opinion on this, that if lockdown browser is used without respondents monitor.
Can I answer for this?
Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah, actually, if the respondents monitor is not used, we cannot see and we cannot tell that what is happening on the other side of the screen. Okay, the student can use the smartphone for cheating, can use the other sources for a book. He can open the book and all that. But it is very good to use the respondents monitor, and very good practice to use the respondents monitor along with the lockdown browser. And
So lockdown.
yeah, it should be used in conjunction. It should be used. It must be used. But there are some cases where the lockdown browser plays the role, very important role. If you are using only the lockdown browser, if you are not using the respondents monitor, in what scenarios we can use the lockdown browser only? One of the scenario is that if you are conducting the exam in the examination hall, proctored exam, it is very much helpful, the lockdown browser. And the other scenario is for the English exams. There are many exams in English. You might know the written, the answers you have to enter. For that, the students to avoid for copy pasting directly. It will be helpful to some extent.
But they can see from their mobile phones and can write easily, right?
Yeah, but directly copy pasting means they can save the time as well. So if suppose we want them to avoid saving their time, it's like that. If you directly copy paste, they can save the time. If you can see from the mobile and can write, of course they can see the mobile and can write, but that takes time. That takes for them to writing. We cannot avoid that in this scenario, in the only online scenario. If suppose we want to avoid that, we want to curb that, we need only the respondents monitor along with it. But to some extent, for the English exams, if it is going only online, not proctored exam, then the only the respondents the lockdown browser will help them, not copy pasting. And if it is a proctored exam, then only the lockdown browser is going to help to a great extent without the respondents monitor. So thank you.
So yeah.
Okay, now let's because this question is not so relevant to what presented by the Qasim. Maybe we can delay the answers to
it was related to your yesterday's talk,
Yes.
that you said that we can ask today.
Yeah, but we will keep this kind of question later because we will let Mr. Abubakar present now. Because when the question is more related to some other presenter, okay?
Thank you very much.
Inshallah, we'll try to have more time for question and answer later. So let's pass the presentation to Mr. Abubakar.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello?
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Okay,
Yes,
I hope
we
you
can
can
hear
hear
you.
me clearly and you can see my screen. Can you clearly see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem. This is the last presentation in this workshop and it is titled Best Practices and Tips for Blackboard Online Assessment. It is worth mentioning here before I start that whatever tips we put together in this presentation may not be complete. There may be one or two that's not here, but we try to cover as much as we can. This is the outline of the presentation. I'll start by talking about tips before online assessment. It is important to note that the aim of this presentation is to help you effectively prepare for the final exam, but you can find this whole workshop useful for any online assessment. All right, so I'll talk about tips before any online assessment and tips during online assessment, and after online assessment, I will conclude by looking at common exam issues that are usually faced and what the teacher needs to do. Okay, the objective of this workshop as a whole is that is prepared by e-learning directorate is to help you conduct your exam effectively. So yesterday we sent two presentations. One is how to plan your exam, and then we talked about exam integrity. And today we have two presentations. One is how to report problems in case you face any problem, and now I'm talking about best practices. So what do you need to do before the exam, right? It is important to mention here that most of the things that you need to do, right, in order to have an effective exam should be done before the exam. If you plan your exam properly, you put all the things together before the exam, then I'm telling you that during the exam and after the exam, you have absolutely nothing to do. So it is it is essential that you plan your exam properly before the exam. So some of the tips are for the management, RCYCR management. What do they need to do before the exam? They need to ensure that the schedule of the exam is scheduled and is created and published to students and to all stakeholders way before the exam. So the student should know about the schedule of the exam. The instructor should know about the schedule of the exam. And if there's anybody that needs to do anything on the system, you should also know about the exam. So this will help the instructors, the students, and each and every one of us to get ready before the exam, right? And Blackboard is just like any other system. We should try to avoid overloading the system, or it may be unstable. So the management should make sure that not many students are taking the exam at the same time. So based on the schedule, if the schedule is created, they need to ensure that not many students are taking the exam at the same time. Try to spread the exam so that we have some balance. And to improve the quality of the exam, the management should ensure that all campuses are using tools that will help to improve the quality of the exam, just like what Dr. Karim presented yesterday. You're going to use a lockdown browser and responses monitor. If there's any other tool that will help, the management should ensure that all campuses are using it. Now, tips for instructors. It is absolutely necessary that the instructor communicate detailed instructions for the exam way before the exam, so that the student understand what is required of them. Remember, this kind of online exam, the students are not going to be with you. Since they're not with you, you may not be there to explain certain things. So make sure that you explain perfectly what the students are supposed to do. They should be ready. They should know, okay, maybe how many questions.
First session.
What are the categories?
First, it is possible second session because 3 hours the exam. Do you want to make it, because now what is written here is not correct?
Okay. All right, so as I was saying, it is absolutely necessary that you communicate detail about the exam. Let the student get prepared and know what to expect from you in terms of the type of questions or the number of questions or the nature of your questions, right? Because if you're not there to explain to them, they may face some problem. And then you should carefully prepare your online test and try to attempt it yourself. Attempting the question yourself will help you uncover certain things. Like maybe if you set the questions, if you're sitting on the student chair, then you can see that, oh, this question is not really clear, it is vague, and then you can correct it. Or the time allocated for the question or for the whole test is not enough. Or other problems that you may feel that you may see only when you test or you attempt the test yourself. So it is very, very important that after you prepare the test, try to attempt it yourself from beginning to the end. And test to other instructors that are teaching the same course before the exam. They may give you some valuable feedback that will help you improve the test before you publish it to the students. And also consider using random groups. Using random groups is absolutely necessary because the students may not see the same set of questions, or if they are the same question, they may not see it in the same order. That will help reduce academic dishonesty, right? The student may not be able to cheat. And if you're using multiple choice questions, then try to avoid using options such as all of the above, none of the above, because this kind of online test, you may randomize the questions and randomize the choices as well. So if you randomize it, the system is scramble the system. So the options, the student will see all of the above maybe as a first question. So try to avoid using this if you can, all right? Or try not to randomize the options. And also consider using questions with only one correct answer. If you're sure and you explain to your students that you may have some questions that have more than one possible answers, okay. But if this explanation is not given to students, then avoid using questions that have more than one correct answer because they may get confused or they may choose only one. All right. And also limit feedback display to students. You don't have to show them all the feedback. You can limit the feedback that you show your students, especially for major exams. Right? For major exams such as final lab and final exam, this is based on policy. Don't show the marks to the students. Right? This is based on policy, as I said, policy, RCYCR policy, but there's a reason behind that. Sometimes, if for whatever reason, You may change the mark if, for example, a student is at the border. You can look for certain things and add certain marks for him in order to upgrade his grade. So these kind of changes, if students know about it, it may come back to you. So major exams, don't show the marks to your students. And for continuous assessment, such as quizzes and assignments and all that, it's absolutely necessary that you show the student the feedback, but try to show it to them at the end of the exam when everybody has finished, right? And you should consider, they need to see the feedback, because the correct answers and the feedback, because it will help them learn from these feedback, and it will improve their performance in tests to come, subsequent tests. And you consider assessing students with different methods, not just exam. You can give them certain activities, or you can give them recorded oral presentation, and so many other things. I'm sure some of us are using it. For example, some of us realize that students, when you give them assignment, they just copy from each other and submit it to you. And there's nothing you can do. But some faculty members decide to, instead of just giving them assignment, they give them assignment that has to do with presentation. So even if they copy from each other, they'll have to understand and they'll have to present it, right? So that way you are working on some other course learning outcome that you will not capture by just giving them written assignment. So oral presentation will help. At least the student has to understand what he's saying, and he'll come and present it in the class, right? So his communication will also improve. And if approved by the management, consider using lockdown browser in respondents monitor. Except if the management says otherwise, it is absolutely necessary. So as I said, if you plan your exam properly, there's very little you can do during the exam and fine after the exam. But even though you don't have much to do, assuming you set the exam properly, you just plan the exam and you use a lockdown browser and everything. When you use the lockdown browser and respondents monitor, you don't need to do anything. The respondents monitor, as we've seen during Dr. Karima's last presentation, will record everything for you. The whole exam will be recorded. Not only recorded, it will also give you priority for review. It's either low or medium or high. So if you see any high, you can go through the video and check and determine whether you should penalize a student or not. So you don't really need to be there. Even though you don't have to be there, or, while the students are conducting the exam, it is important that you provide some sort of avenue for the students to contact you in case they have problems. Mashallah, you prepare your exam very well, and you're using all the tools required in order to make sure the students are not cheating. But you never can tell. Anything can happen. Maybe during the exam, the student may need to contact you. So make sure you give them the means through which they can contact you immediately during the exam. Right? And not just that, you should also prepare yourself on what to do and how to assist the student, right, in case they face a problem. Probably it's something that has to do with the setting. Maybe it's something that has to do, you may need to speak to the campus representative or the IT or something. So try to prepare yourself in order to assist the student during the exam. And if it is something, beyond your control, it has something to do with the setting, it has something, maybe you advise the student, restart your computer or use a different log out and log in. You advise him to do certain things, it's still not working, you may need to contact the campus representative, okay? Okay, what about after the exam? After the exam, basically, it's explained in detail by my colleague, Brother Mohammed Qasim, so you can refer to his presentation on what to do. But naturally, maybe it's just about preparing all the problems that have occurred, and then you report them. So as I said, go back to his presentation and see what you really need to do, right? And if there's anything that you spoke to the campus representative, you may need to follow up with him regarding what exactly to do, or if you need more information from him, right? Some common issues that are faced, as I said, there are so many issues that are faced during the exam. So I'm not going to cover everything in this presentation. I'll just mention a few. Some of the issues are related to device or computer, the computer the student is being used, right? So if a student is using the wrong device, the student may not be able to take the exam smoothly. He's taking the exam on his phone, taking the exam on his iPad or something. The way it's presented or displayed to him may be different, so he may have problem taking the exam smoothly. Or student may not be able to install lockdown browser. So you should, as a teacher, you should advise the student to use the computer with the recommended configuration instead of using iPad or his phone. And some issues are related to the network or the internet. right? So if the student doesn't have a good internet, then he may face problem like the page may not load or connection timeout, or the student may be kicked out of the exam. During the exam, he may be kicked out. So before the exam, try to advise the student to have not just a good computer, but also a good internet connection. And some of the problems have to do with test options that are not properly set by the instructor, right? So in some cases, maybe the student can't access the test. Maybe it's hidden or something, or he may not be able to see the test. It's not going to be available to him. So make sure you check your options to ensure that everything is okay before the exam. It's very important. And there are most of the issues that people face is either has to do with the device or the internet or lockdown browser. And there are so many issues reported. Some of the issues a student can't install lockdown browser, or after they did the installation, everything is wiped out and the system is unstable. Or issues that lockdown browser is installed, that the student cannot start the exam or cannot start lockdown browser. Or student can't start exam in lockdown browser, or the lockdown browser is requesting for a password. So you may need to contact, as the Qasim said, you may need to contact the campus representative if there's this kind of issues. Probably he may help. But naturally, generally speaking, right, issues that has to do with lockdown browser basically has to do with maybe the student's computer or internet is not good enough. Right? For you to use lockdown browser, you need to have a very good computer that has limited minimum requirements of configuration, and the internet has to be very, very good. If the internet is not good, the student will definitely face problems. Or maybe the student is trying to access the lockdown browser, an exam that is set to use lockdown browser, but he's using something else. Either maybe Google Chrome or Internet Explorer, and he may not be able to access the system. Also number one. Or probably the instructor prepared the exam, and he set the exam to use a lockdown browser, and then he went back to the exam and made some changes. If he does that, also the student will have a problem. As Dr. Karim mentioned yesterday, so you need to go back and click on fix it. So try to avoid you changing your exam after you set it and you set it to use lockdown browser, or else the student may face problems. Right? Thank you very much. This brings me to the end of the presentation. Hello?
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Abubakar, for your presentation. And inshallah, we have some extra time, and we will now open the workshop to the floor for any question. As I said again, keep your questions short and simple. And also to the presenters, please also keep your answers short, because we try to accommodate as many questions as possible. Okay? So the question will be open, including all the issues that we need to address yesterday. So feel free if you have any question. Okay, while waiting for some to ask a question, we have some question on the chat box, right? From Dr. Ismail. In many of the assessment type, we don't have math editor to type on it. So,
Assalamualaikum.
Yes.
Yeah, for the course file, we need 3 samples. So in the assignment, it is easy. But for the test, have any simple and easy way to download the test files?
Can I answer this question, Mr. Rafiq?
Yes, please.
Unfortunately, the Blackboard will not support the direct downloading of two things. One is test and surveys. Surveys and test cannot be downloaded. So unfortunately, this is we can say it's not possible. So only thing you can do is you have to go to the test and then you have to copy and paste it in some Word file or some other. Unfortunately, this is not available. This option is not available for the test and surveys, but assignments can be downloaded.
What I used to do in this case, I go to those sample and ask to print, and when it says print, I just save it as PDF.
Definitely, you can do that. You
Right
can do
click
that.
and right click and print, and then or right click and save as PDF, or right click and print as PDF. That serves the purpose.
Yeah, you can do that.
But this PDF only for the file response. I think that is for the other question.
Now, for any other test, it is applicable for any other test. Go to that test, open that test, or open that attempt, that particular attempt, and right click anywhere in the white space, and then there you will be provided the options. You can either print it as PDF or you can save it as PDF.
Okay, I think this question has been answered, but I will just give a short recommendation because Blackboard is a very popular application. Anything that you want to do, you just go to Google and type it, and maybe you will find the answers. So for example, like you just type how to print a test in Blackboard, and then there are some instructions. If I remember, there are some options, but I cannot recall it exactly. All right. Okay, now we move to another question by Rohaya Jahari. Okay, any recommendation as how to best manage students' issues during the exam if the teacher is monitoring 4 sections simultaneously with a total number of 145 students? So any of the presenters would like to address this issue?
Can I answer this, Mr. Rafiq?
Yes, please.
Yeah, if these 4 sections are belongs to the different teachers, then it is easy. Every teacher can create a different account on his so he can monitor his section. Every teacher can monitor his one section independently. This is one way of monitoring all the 100 plus students or 145 students. But I think all the 145 students may not be with the same teacher. Even if it is with the same teacher, he can ask one of his colleagues to give a different link and ask him to monitor, like a proctoring.
Okay, so we have also one question from Dr. Ismail which has not been answered. Yeah. So in many of the assessment type, we don't have math editor to type on it, for instance, in jumble sentence. So anyone has an idea on what to do with it? Well, in my opinion, I'll just keep if I were to do it, is that I will do the equation in Microsoft Word, and then I will just take the pictures, and then I will just attach it as a picture if there is no math editor, because there are certain things is beyond our control, because this is features that is provided by Blackboard. Okay, now for copy and paste, it does support the new editors in Blackboard. It support copy and paste of images, right? So if you have an image, you can copy it and then paste it to the editor.
There is not copy paste. You have to upload images. There is a button, a click button. You have to explore a little bit on the editor. You have to click and upload file, and that file can be of type images as well. To those who are asking about how to copy paste images.
No, actually, I would like to say here that when we type the question as a question in jumble sentence, it's okay, there is available. But when we put in the options, giving options, there is no such editor, nothing to upload there in the options part, not in the writing the main questions in the jumble sentence. in the option part, when you say create the options for this jumble sentence, means the for example, you put 4 blanks and you have to put some 10 answers there, and out of which 10 student will choose from there 4 exactly correct answer. There nothing is there, only you can write take, get, go, went, pride, bright, means though mathematical you cannot. So here my request is to, if we can put this request to the in the Blackboard community, if they can do a little bit more, means they are improving day by day, that's all, because I'm sure there is no option.
Okay, I will just quickly show you the new editors of Blackboard. Now, if you look at these new editors of Blackboard, right, you can actually copy and paste images to the editor. Okay. Okay, for example, if you look at this one, if I have an image, right, usually what I will do is that I will just open this image, let's say in any of the software, right? You just have to copy it, but don't copy it from your computer like this. You don't do this kind of copy. Okay, if you copy this way, you will not be able to do it. You have to open it in some apps and then you copy this. And then you just have to go to the editors, and from here you can actually paste the image, right, like this, and then you just have to save it. Okay, so this is the features of the new editors in a Blackboard, and do try it out. Otherwise, you may have to look into this option, and there are some extra for you to add the image. Okay. All right, let's see if we got other questions.
Yeah, there is a question.
Okay, can we detect in an essay question type? Okay, anyone would like to answer this?
Any type of question will be detected. It's not necessary that it is an essay or what type of question it is. If the Blackboard is implemented, if the lockdown browser is implemented, so and the responders monitor is implemented, so cheating can be detected. There is nothing special about any it's not specific to any kind of question. So cheating is a cheating, but how he's cheating, that we have to, if you want to see that one, then you have to monitor the clips, the video clips of the students, then you can see.
Okay, just to add a little bit, in Blackboard, we have this, I think something like assign, Blackboard assign, or some kind of the name. Save assign, yes. That features is something like the Turnitin in apps to detect for what do you call that, plagiarism. Okay, you can explore that. All right. So there's one more question from Dr. Suresh Kumar. Right? How do we create a main question with sub question? For example, question 1, main question detail A, and the sub question. So anyone would like to address this issue? Is there anyone who would like to address the issues of Dr. Suresh?
I will explain him, inshallah. Ask him to send me an email, and later I will explain him. I can do that for him, inshallah.
Yeah. Okay. Some of the question could be very lengthy to explain. Okay. Okay.
Rafiq, I have one question related to the use of iPad.
Okay.
Okay. My BB team clearly and strictly says that iPad use should not be implemented inside the during the examinations. Can I know what are the features that are lost when iPads are used?
Okay, so anyone would like to address this?
The most important feature is that you cannot share your screen.
If, for example, respondents monitor is not used, then?
Even then, you cannot share your screen using the iPad. Blackboard Collaborate Ultra will not be working effectively in using the iPad. This is I say that the major disadvantage of using the iPad. And
so this is regarding teaching. I'm asking about the examination actually.
It is advisable.
Examination on iPad. What are the features that can be lost?
If I can answer that, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
So some question types are actually mentioned in Blackboard that some question types using the iPad may not look as the way they should be. So that's why in trying to avoid these kind of mistakes, that's why we recommend not to use iPad for exam.
And any other tablets as well.
Okay, so I would rather like to know what type of questions would be, if in later at any later stage, any one of you can explain that what type of questions can be lost. It will make our life easier as far as examinations are concerned.
Actually, if you just key in the Google Blackboard Help, the questions which are not supported by iPad, then you will get all the explanation very easily. You can see all the information there. This is the single key.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so do we have any other question? Don't forget to fill up your attendance and for the purpose of certificates. And we have a survey for our session 2. So feel free to fill up the survey. Okay, we will.
Please, Dr. Qasim, I have a question for you. For the Collaborate Ultra, can we use it with the exam instead of Respondus Monitor? And the students can share their camera, and so we can go to the students and check.
Of course, you can use it, but actually you may not be able to monitor all the students. And I can say up to 20 students, it is okay, it works fine. But other 10 students, maybe you cannot read all of them at once.
And also, you are putting the more load on the Blackboard server because you are using the Ultra as well as you are using the exam. So there may be chances of overloading the backend server. So that's why we have to have a separate video conferencing tool like Google Meet or Zoom or something, which is totally different from the Blackboard. So Blackboard is exclusively you are using it for the exam, and the other tool you are using for the monitoring of the students.
Okay, it is under recommended. Please. Let me comment. Okay, you talk about load. It is short. It's short like that. Load. We can govern the load by distributing the schedule. In the schedule, we do not construct our schedule many students at the same time. This is easy.
Brother Gamal, here I have an answer for this. Actually, the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra is a third-party tool which is being used by the Blackboard. So they have their own servers. So as far as my knowledge, that the load on the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra will not be affecting the effectiveness of the Blackboard. Would you please, Brother Rafiq, would you please, ponder on this?
Yeah, we have to reduce the load, but it can be used, especially like if you are running a quiz or in between the semesters. But for final exam, we don't really recommend because there are many sessions going on at the same time, and not only us, it's also being shared by Jubail. So try to avoid that. But if you can use Google Meet, it's highly recommended because that will actually shift some of the load to other servers, So this is our recommendation, but it is a good suggestion actually to use the Collaborate Ultra and turn on the monitors to monitor. The video to monitor them. Okay, so
but this is possible only. But this is possible only when we are not using the lockdown browser and responders monitor. If you're using the lockdown responders monitor, then it is not possible.
Yes, right.
to
You're
remember this.
absolutely right. Yes. Yes. Okay, we're basically at the end of this workshop. It's now 12 o'clock. We welcome any questions. You can always email any of your questions to the representative, and feel free if you have any suggestions, okay, to help us to improve the operations of this Blackboard. On behalf of the e-learning directorate, I would like to thank all of you who participated in this workshop since yesterday and today. And don't forget to fill up your attendance and also take the survey. I wish you all the best for your upcoming final examination, and thank you again. So we'll end our workshop now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Rafiq. Thank you very much for your and your team.